Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Purdue.
Hey, come on in. It's time for us to get started. Time to get some motivation and inspiration. Time to give me some fire me up for the next challenge that comes in life, the next difficulty, hardship. And like I say before, pay it forward. Don't take it to the grave with you. Share it with someone you know can use it to help them get through their trials and tribulations. All right, today we got a man named Chris Moore going to come in. He talked about his lost his life after 33 years of marriage to lung cancer. And after that, it led him to reassess his life. He has learned the aftermath and has come up with a book called Age, right here, Age Out Loud, How to Live Purposeful, Fulfilling Life in the Years that Mattered Most. So welcome to the show. Let me click this right here. Chris, thank you for being here.
Professor.
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going great. It's going great.
Hey, I tell people I got a doctoral degree. Don't get all excited about that. I can't write out a prescription, but if you need me to drive you to your pharmacy, I can do that for you.
I took a lead paint class once from a guy that had a PhD. And he said something that I'll never forget. He said, people think that I'm real smart because I got a PhD. And he said, it means nothing of the sort. It just means I hung around schools for longer than most people and ended up with a PhD. He said, now I've got an uncle who's a wheat farmer, and he can take a kernel of wheat and crunch it between his teeth and tell you within 3% what the moisture content of that kernel of wheat is. Now that's smart. So, I think that when we think about smart, we think about intelligence, we think about knowledge, we think about wisdom. What do we have that we've gained through our experience of life that we can impart to somebody else and make their life better?
Oh, there's many, like you're saying, there's many different forms of education. Right. It doesn't have to be in the classroom. We all have our what's called life experience, school of hard knocks. And so I'm a firm believer everybody's gifted. Now, what do they test? How gifted are you in school, right? With the knowledge you learned in school. Now, we're all gifted. It just in what category, what lifestyle, what have we learned that we can use, like you said, and push it on and share to other people. And can you make a living off of it? You know, make I don't know, enough money to go buy a banana split, I know it's one guy, he's real smart and he can tell you a song comes on, he can tell you who sung it, when it came out, everything like that, but he's never used it to make any money. So I believe we're all gifted in some area.
We are. And one of the things that I've come to understand is that many of us have gifts that we've never opened. We have gifts that we've never bothered to unwrap, either because we didn't value the gift or we just didn't take the time to recognize that it's a gift.
That is very true.
I woke up this morning and the strangest thing happened. I was alive. Not everybody went to bed last night, woke up this morning. And I opened my eyes and they could see. And I could hear the birds singing. And there's 3 gifts right there before I even, rolled over.
That's right.
And, how many other gifts that I have a roof over my head and, I have food to eat and water to drink and a family that loves me and I mean, on and on and on and on.
Yeah, I was going to say that sometimes we don't know certain gifts we have until it's thrown upon us. For instance, your wife dying lung cancer. now you want to be an advocate to help other people. You may not have had this desire if it wasn't for experience of what you went through.
That's exactly right. And the old saying, you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's the way we are. We have a tendency as human beings to take stuff for granted. It's there in front of us. We never really think about it that much, and it's just there. It's always been there, and we don't give it a second thought. But when the rug's been jerked out from under you, and you're left with no handles, everything you ever knew, everything you ever were, who you recognized yourself to be, is gone, then you start to realize either all the gifts that you have not opened, or you just descend into bitterness. And I've seen that too. I've seen people who have gone through a devastating loss, have gone through something challenging in their life, and they just melt into a puddle on the floor and just never come back.
Yep. It's a shame that some of the experience we go through is, like you just said, it's a two-way street. We're neither going to flourish and gain from it, or we're going to fold. And hopefully most of us gain and move forward. But again, sadly, there's other people that do that. Hey, Nancy Krantz, thank you for coming in. She said amen to that. So, and you two are right about that. So, Nancy, thank you for coming in and listening today. So, yeah, Chris. So, yeah, keep going. You're throwing some good, wise wisdom out there for us, man. You're doing great.
Yeah. So one of the things that hit me, and it was a few months after Barbara died, and I was walking on the river and just kind of in a fog and feeling sorry for myself and wondering what was coming next. And it occurred to me, I had a memory. And I remembered that when we first got married, we got married in October of 1989. And in January of 1990, so it was like 3 months after we got married, she went in the hospital with encephalitis. She'd been waking up in the middle of the night, she said it felt like steel claws were ripping her head open, and kept going to the doctor, and they didn't know what was going on, And finally it was an intern at the hospital that figured out what it was. And he said, get down here to the emergency room as fast as you can. And went down there, and they put her in a room and put a quarantine sign on the door, and teams of doctors in white coats would stand around whispering to each other. And they didn't tell me for 3 days what was wrong with her. And then they finally said it was encephalitis, and I didn't know anything about encephalitis, never heard of it. Yeah. But it's an infection of the lining of the brain, and most of the time your brain swells and against your skull, and you die. And if you don't die, you're very likely to lose all your short-term memory. We watched a documentary years later that showed these people that had encephalitis, and the man had to draw himself a map to get out to the mailbox and back, because he would get out there and he'd forget where he was. And another guy would keep asking the interviewer every few minutes, well, who are you and what are you doing in my house? And then a few minutes later, he'd ask him again. Well, Barbara didn't have any, I mean, she lost her vision. She lost her speech. She had seizures. It was real touch and go there for a while. And she didn't know who I was. She told me later, I knew I liked you, but I couldn't figure out who you were. This guy that kept coming to see me in my hospital room. But it occurred to me on that riverbank that day that if someone had come to me and told me at that time, she's not going to die, she's going to live 33 more years, and y'all going to have 3 more children together, I would have been ecstatic. And so I had a choice.
This procedure, this encephalitis, that was early.
That took place 33 years prior.
Okay. Than the lung cancer.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You just
so we had a whole
stage for us. Okay.
We had a whole 33 years together.
Yeah, I got you now. Yeah.
Raised 6 children, and had a lot of a lot of great memories. But this day that I'm on the riverbank and having this memory and having this epiphany that I have a choice. I get to choose which perspective I'm going to hold on to. I can choose to melt into a puddle on the floor and be distraught and broken that she died at 55 years old of lung cancer. Or I can be grateful for that 33 years we had together.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, that realization gave me something to hold on to, gave me something that I could control. And I realized that that decision ultimately is the only decision that we have. Because sometimes life happens to you. And sometimes life deals you a hand that you really didn't want to play. But you don't have a choice. That's the hand that life dealt you, and you got to decide how you're going to play it.
I got this friend there, Chris. He told me one time, and you may have heard of my friend. He said, sometimes you got to know when to hold them, sometimes you got to know when to fold them.
Huh?
So
yeah, I think his name was Kenny.
Yeah,
I think
that's my friend Kenny. Yeah, to be honest, I've never met him, but I like that story. My friend, he told me this.
Yeah.
Hey, Bird Baggett, thank you for coming in, buddy. He says great resources of story of hope. So thank you, Bird.
Yeah.
All right, keep going, Chris. You're doing great.
So, and really that realization is what has helped me to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and to come out the other side and to make an effort to share that realization with people and to reach out and comfort and help people that are maybe going through a difficult time. I am a remodeling contractor in my day job. I've been in business, be 25 years, 1st of June. And I do a lot of aging in place work. We do a lot of accessibility remodels for people that make their Peter Pan house into a forever home. Peter Pan house, one built for people that never grow old. And we do a lot of work for disabled veterans, and we do a lot of remodels for people who are suffering with progressive illnesses of one kind and another. And we just, as a fairly common occurrence, is that we have clients who die, in the middle of the job or right after the job, and they're often left with a bereaved widow, a bereaved widower, and prior to this happening to me, I didn't really quite know how to handle that situation or to be comforting to those people. And having been through it myself, I understand exactly what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I am able to be there for them in that moment and during that time, because I've been through it myself. I've been through that experience, and I understand the pain, and I understand that, like any other pain, the only way to get through it is to go through it, which sounds kind of obvious, but people try to mask their pain. They try to medicate their pain. They try to avoid their pain. You see people that just get really busy, working to try to, not deal with the pain. And what I learned very early on is that if you do that, it's going to come out sooner or later. And the longer you try to avoid it, the louder it's going to be when it does come out. And there's a very good chance that it's going to come out at the worst possible time in the worst possible place. And the only way to heal is to embrace the feelings and have the feelings and not try to run from them or hide from them.
Mm-hmm.
And having other people who are empathetic and who have been in a similar situation is very helpful.
Yeah, that's a big part. Is if we haven't experienced some things, we have no idea and can't comprehend how people deal with it. But once we've thrown in that, then we're going, oh, now I can understand more. So
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
I'm a 3-time, sad to say it, but it's part of my story. I'm a 3-time suicide loser. Glad I lost in that area. 3 times I attempted suicide in 3 days. And when I hear people talk about, and I used to do this, hear people go, "Oh, just get over it, just move on, life will get better." No, after I attempted and went through that, I'm in so dark of a hole that I couldn't
Right.
understand what they're saying. Need to move on, get over it. Things, those just words until you
Yeah.
deep down into that. But I understand it better now. So I got
Yes.
other words I would say to people. So not that I'm trying to take over your story. I'm just giving an example.
No. I mean,
Once I went
100%.
through it, I understood it better than I did not going through it.
Right.
So yeah.
Because if you're in a dark place and you don't see any hope, you don't see any reason to continue, you don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, I mean, I could understand why that might seem like an escape.
Well, you want to stop the pain. You
You
want
want
to
to
stop
stop
the
the pain.
worry. You want to stop everything else that's going on. So
Right.
there was, during that time, I would see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it was always another train coming at me, so just wanted to stop everything. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I wasn't successful in that area as successful I've been in life, but I'm glad I was a failure in there. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you weren't successful either.
hey, just to throw it off a little bit, surviving that, and of course had to see a psychologist for a year, and he's the one that said that I need to get into the speaking business, write my book, and it eventually led to me doing this podcast. So I figure
Right.
now part of my mission now is to get other people's stories out there, not just hear me. And so
Right.
that's why I started this, to get yours, everybody else that I've interviewed, to get their message out and help them get it out there too. So it's part of my mission. I feel is possible now.
Well, everybody's got to have a purpose.
Yeah.
If you don't have a purpose, or if you don't know what your purpose is, then you just flounder and you have no reason to get out of bed in the morning because you don't have a purpose. And when my wife died, I had to find a new purpose. I'd been a husband for 33 years. Well, I wasn't a husband anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been a caregiver for 33 weeks. She was sick for 33 weeks. And now I wasn't a caregiver anymore. My children were grown. And so it was, what's my purpose? And one of the things that really helped me not to get bitter.
Mm-hmm.
Like I talk to a lot of people who have lost a spouse, lost a child, lost, a loved one in the prime of life. And you hear a lot, I hear a lot of stories about people get angry with God.
Mm-hmm.
They get angry with that. How could you do this to me? She was such a good person. How could you, take away the good? And one of the things that really helped me was that when she died, it was in the intensive care, had all my, family around, and she took her last breath with the biggest smile on her face. And there was a sense of peace in that room that was just, I mean, you could hold it in your hands.
Yeah.
And that fact was a great comfort to me in the days and weeks that followed, where I was struggling with that loss and struggling with, where do I go from here? And it was funny because, not funny, but several times where I was just really in a low spot and feeling sorry for myself, and I heard her voice say, "Chris, like, get up and get going.
Yeah.
You still got life to live. You're still on this earth." And there's a guy on YouTube that I watch sometimes. He's called Old Mike, Old Me Living Better, and his slogan is, "If you ain't dead, you ain't done."
There you go. All right. Yeah, that's a good. We need to make it into a T-shirt.
Uh-huh.
So
But what came to me, as I went through this valley, and I started coming out the other side and started trying to reimagine my purpose, and the brevity of human life, how short our time is. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, even if we live to be 120 years old, it's just a blink. It's just a blink.
Yeah.
And, what are we going to do with that blink? What are we going to do with today, March the 12th, 2026? What are we going to do today that's going to make a difference in somebody's life? How are we going to use the things that we have gone through to help somebody else? And so, the idea of the book came along, and I work with a lot of people in my remodeling business that are, have been through some decline physically, cognitively, whether, suddenly in an accident or, more gradually over time, but that so many of them would say, "Oh no, I'm not ready for that. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want you to put any, grab bars in my bathroom. I don't want you to do anything to make my house accessible." And it just struck me as odd. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized it's because people have a negative viewpoint of getting older.
Yeah. Yes.
They think that getting older means getting weaker and sicker, and people go to great lengths to preserve the appearance of youth, right? But to enjoy the gifts, we're back to gifts again, to enjoy the gifts of old age, which are, we've learned a lot. We've seen a lot of stuff, and we've learned some wisdom along the way that maybe we don't have to spend so much time in the school of hard knocks, because we've picked up some.
That's right.
We've picked up some things along the way to kind of keep us out of that ditch.
Yeah, to keep us from detouring.
Exactly. And so we pay more attention to the wrinkles than we pay to the wisdom.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the beginning of the idea of the book, Age Out Loud. And as I began researching the book, as I began to read stories about people who were doing really amazing things. There's one story in there of a guy that ran a marathon at 100 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. 100 years old, ran a marathon. I mean, took him 7 or 8 hours. He didn't set a speed record, but 100 years old, run a marathon. That's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive.
I actually met a man by the name of Dale Sanders. He's from Tennessee, lives over near Memphis. He goes by the trail name of Graybeard. He is through hiking the Appalachian Trail right now. He's 90 years old, and I met him on McAfee Knob here near Roanoke, Virginia, and I got an interview with him on my YouTube channel. And I hiked with him for 4 or 5 miles, and he kept saying, "We're going downhill. We can go a little faster."
Uh,
And 90 years old. He had the record at 82, and then some other fellow at 84 came and took it away from him, and now he's getting it back.
there you go.
And the guy that took it from him in 84 is helping him. They're buddies. And
Okay, good. Yeah, good.
Yeah. So I started to say, well, wait a minute. Oh, there's all these people that are 50 and 60 years old and think that, they're pretty much done with life, and it's time to sit in a recliner and watch Gunsmoke and, just wait for the days to tick by. But then there's people like this that are 90 years old and they're still kicking.
Still doing their part. That's
Still
right. Yeah,
doing
I'm like you. I have like you talking 50, 60. I've seen 40-year-olds that are saying this is about as good as it's going to get right here. And
Yeah.
they don't do anything to test the boundaries to see what they're really capable of doing.
Right.
So
right. And I love the story in the Bible about Caleb. Caleb was one of the 12 spies that spied out the land, and 10 of them said, "There's giants in there. They're going to eat us for lunch." And 2 of them said, "No, we can take them. God's on our side." And one of them was Caleb. And it says later in the Bible that Caleb was 85 years old, and he was still just as strong as the young bucks. And when they asked him why that was, he said it was because all of his troubles and his struggles and his difficulties that he had been through in life, he looked at them as bread. Those troubles and difficulty, that was just food to make me stronger. That was just, stuff to make me stronger and more resilient. And so that attitude of we get to choose, we get to decide whether the challenges we face in life are going to make us stronger or are they going to break us? And that's dependent on our attitude and how we treat those events and those things that happen to us.
yeah. And one thing about testing our next limit is we don't have to win right off the bat. As long as we can get a good head start, then we can build off that to come back at a later time. For example, I'm in a wheelchair, and I went to go do my first, was it a 5K? It's 6.2 miles or whatever. And so I'd practice doing 3 miles for a whole summer. And so his friend of mine, he said, "Yeah, James, you can do that." He said, because what they used to practice a marathon, if you can do 18 miles, then you can do the rest of it because it's just pure grit to get through it. And he said, so if you're doing 3 miles, you can do the other. I got to 4.5 miles. I was dead tired. I had to quit. I couldn't do anymore. I was all out. But I've been doing 3 miles. I got to 4.5 miles.
Yeah.
Even though I failed not finishing, I went further than I ever gone at one time. So,
exactly.
And we can build on from that.
Well, and if it's not working for you, it's working on you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you did the 4.5. If you said, "Oh, I'm a failure. I didn't do the 6 that I set out to do," you could get defeated. But if you said, "What? Wow, that's 50% more than I've ever done before. I'm gonna come back tomorrow and try. Maybe I'll do 4.6 miles tomorrow."
That's right.
Right?
So, that's right.
And you just keep going on, and that not quitting. I mean, that's the key to so many things in life. You just don't quit. You just keep on, and you keep on, and you keep on, and you will get there. If you don't quit, any worthy goal that you set your mind to and don't quit, you will eventually get there. But how many people quit right before the breakthrough? They say that the darkest hour is right before the dawn. If you're out in the woods, or you're out camping and you're waiting for daybreak, and it gets 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're cold, and man, it's like, hurry up and come up, son. And man, it's dark out there.
Yeah.
But then you just keep waiting, and you pretty soon you see that little glimmer. You see a little bit of light in the sky over in the eastern side of things. And you know that the day breaks on the way.
Well, I'm sorry that your wife passed away, but I'm glad that she was able to help you find your new purpose and
Yes.
helping other people, especially bringing the old age stigma
Yes.
to
Well,
a real normal, not speculations,
yeah.
and not because my grandfather died at 67, then I'm going to be dead at 67, that
Yeah.
you can still do more and
Right.
things like that. So,
Right. Well, and I've been blessed. The Lord saw fit to send me a new wife, and for a long time there, my Bible verse was Genesis 2:18, which says it is not good for the man to be alone. And so Michelle and I will have been married 3 years in August, and we both love hiking, and we plan to through hike the Appalachian Trail in 2028 ourselves. So that's our big
yeah,
goal.
yeah.
That's our big goal we're shooting for.
If,
So, but purpose, that find a purpose, and that's one of the issues a lot of people run headlong into when they retire.
oh,
We're taught, retirement's this wonderful thing, and you work all your life, and you follow the 40-40-40 plan, which you work 40 hours a week for 40 years so you can live off of 40% of your previous income. And the idea is you just relax, you just sit on the front porch and put your feet up, and life is good. Well, sitting on the porch and putting your feet up is relaxing and enjoyable for a time. But after about 2 or 3 weeks of just sitting there with your feet up, a lot of people start to think, well, this is boring,
yeah,
and there's plenty of people that have a whole laundry list of things they want to do, and their retirement is off to the races, and more power to them. I'm not telling anybody how to live their life or what's right for them, but I've seen enough people who lose that purpose. And I think it's worse for men in general than it is for women, because
I can see that.
us men tend to draw our identity from our work
Hmm.
more so than women in general draw their identity from their relationships.
Caring.
And so if we draw our identity from our work, what do men say when they meet each other in public? What do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Right. And then you retire and you say, well, I used to be a plumber. I used to be a police officer. I used to be a insurance salesman. I used to be a, whatever it is. Oh, okay. Well, what are you now? Well,
I'm a sitting on a porch, rocking chair, drinking lemonade connoisseur.
hey, there you go. There you
So
go.
I think your wise
So
message was given to my mom. She didn't retire till she was 77, 78, something like
uh-huh.
that. From she used to deliver the newspaper, throwing them out every night. Did it for over 30 years, and she retired. And friend of my brother's told to tell my mom, find something to keep you active
Right.
because death knows where to find you.
Mhm.
And so, need to come up with a new hobby, a new interest, something that's going to give you, like you said, purpose, so you can continue on. Than just
Right.
sitting around rocking on. Not that rocking on the front porch is not important because we need to
Yeah.
do that to relax.
Right.
Okay, but it doesn't have to be your lifestyle.
Yeah. And sometimes that rocking on the front porch could be a purpose. Let's say there's people that walk by your front of your house and you engage with them, and you tell your stories to the young children in the neighborhood, and you bake cookies for them, and you brighten up their life. So nothing wrong with rocking on the front porch. right?
That's true.
But having something that you feel like you're adding to somebody else's life. I remember my mother sitting in her recliner in the latter part of her life. She had a lot of health issues and was struggling to get around. And all her life, she had, taken care of her family, and she had cooked meals, and she had taken care of the house, and she had, gardened, and all the things that she had done. And she couldn't do those things anymore. And she was weeping, and she said, "I'm useless." And it broke my heart to sit and see her feeling useless, because none of us are ever useless.
No, not really. No.
We have value. Just the fact that we are here, we are created in the image of God, and we have something that will benefit another human being on this earth. And recognizing that when you have lived a long life, you have wisdom and understanding that young people do not have. And I think we've lost some of that in our society. More traditional societies often held their elders in high esteem. The village elder was who everybody would go to and ask questions and get wisdom from. And now we tend to look at our seniors as a burden. We hear about the caregiving crisis, and in 2034, for the first time in our history, there will be more people over the age of 65 in our country than children under the age of 18. And you hear, people in the senior market, the senior provider space, the senior living, and the burden that the old people are going to be on society. And we talk about, Social Security, and it's going bankrupt, and there's such a burden of taking care of all these old people, instead of looking at them as a blessing, looking at them as a source of wisdom and understanding. And what can we learn from them that we don't have to learn ourselves in the school of hard knocks? Right? Because, the school of hard knocks is a hard place to learn stuff. It sticks with you. Right?
It sticks, that's for sure.
But if we can learn something from somebody else and not have to learn everything the hard way, that'd be a good thing.
Yeah. Learn to what not to do. So
exactly.
Let me go back here for a second here when you talked about your mother, and it's sad when she said, I'm useless. It's sad, but I can give you a small example experience with my mom's 86. She's got dementia now, and she's moved in. I moved her in with me, and so I'll get her up to help cut onions or peppers, something to help with dinner. And one night she talked about dinner being good. And so, well, Mom, you helped cook it with us. You helped, and we did everything together. And she said, well, I'm glad that I'm still able to contribute. And I go, Mom, I said, don't ever think you're not contributing. Somehow, some way, you're giving out something to everybody. So, she had that thought too, that she's useless. But she said, yeah, I'm glad I'm still able to contribute.
Yeah.
Like you said, that just broke my heart when she said that.
Yeah. But that's I love that you brought her to live with you. And I think that, we're seeing a resurgence of that multi-generational housing. It was declining for a long time. I have a chapter in my book called The Rise and the Fall of the Waltons Model. We all remember the Waltons TV show where, 3 generations lived on a farm. And that used to be common practice in an agricultural society. That's just the way everybody lived. Nobody thought anything of it. And then over time, families became more mobile, and half-time people are spread out all over the country. And then, there's Social Security and Medicare, and people think, oh, well, they're taken care of. And there's senior living and nursing homes and all that. And so that multi-generational model was in decline for a long time, but it's starting to come back. And it's coming back partly for financial reasons and partly for caregiving reasons, because, we see our loved ones that maybe need to be taken care of more than they used to. And nobody's going to take care of them like family,
Yeah,
just,
that is true.
yeah. So, I'm encouraged to see more of that coming back.
Yes, sir. Well, Chris, man, appreciate you being here and sharing a lot of good wisdom. I'm glad I enjoyed this dialogue we had. So,
Yeah.
when you and the new missus break the 90-year-old record for walking the Appalachian Trail, get back with me so we can talk about that.
We will do that. We'll make an appointment. Let's see. That'll be 27 years from now. So
There you go.
20 whatever that is, 2053.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Do you have any availability on your calendar in 2053?
I'll have to go check it out to be sure, but I think right now it's pretty open. I wouldn't mind, later on, 6 or 8 months, we just get together and talk again. This has been
Sure.
this has been powerful, Chris. I appreciate
I
it.
would like that. Yes.
It bring me some other stuff for me to think about, and I appreciate. So,
Well, I appreciate you having me. I really enjoy the conversation, and I really have had a great time.
there you go. And you said you're a YouTuber, so you can get me on your show and everything, and we can share my story on yours.
Yeah, we will definitely do that.
So,
Yeah.
all right, Chris, hey, give everybody your social media. I didn't get a hold of you.
Okay.
And
So
also, don't forget, everybody, let me put this up one more time. Author Chris Moore, book Age Out Loud: How to Live a Powerful, Fulfillment Life in the Years That Matter Most. All right, Chris, you go ahead and give us.
Yeah, so you can go to ageoutloudbook.com and order the book. You can also get it on Amazon. My YouTube channel is Senior Remodeling Experts. And I'm also on Substack, Age Out Loud. I write an article every day on Substack talking about housing, talking about aging, talking about our perceptions and our mindset, and how we have a lot more control over how we experience aging than you might think. Studies show 20 to 25% is genetics, and the rest is mindset and habits and lifestyle. And we can move the needle and change our experience of life and really change our destiny, because the way that we live, the way that we interact with others, not only influences ourselves, it influences everybody that we run into. And having a platform like this where we're talking to hundreds or thousands or millions of people, we can touch somebody's life. I mean, I don't know who's listening right now or who's going to listen in the future. And, maybe something you or I say can actually turn somebody's life around. And maybe they're having a hard, difficult, dark day, and they heard something on this program that encouraged them to pick themselves up and dust themselves off and live to fight another day.
Well, click that light bulb in their brain
Right.
to open up something new to try. So
Right.
from there. All right, Chris, hey, I appreciate it, man. I was just thinking as you were talking just then, going back again, you were talking about how some of the seniors don't want to put the handrails in because of aging. It's there. You can see that handrail, or you can see the potty chair that now I'm getting older because I need this extra assistance. So same thing with my mom. In the room in the house, she shuffles with her walk the way it is at 86. And so I mentioned to her doctor, I said, I think it's time she probably need to get a walker to help keep her stable. Mom goes, nope, don't need it. I said, what? Nope, don't need it. Now she'll shuffle her feet. But if you get her to the store, she gets on that buggy and puts both arms crossed and leans on the hand part.
Uh-huh.
She walked 30 minutes, not get out of breath because of that supporting her.
Yeah.
which again tells me you should have a walker. Nope, don't need it. Like,
Well,
yeah,
just get her a shopping cart then.
well, that's what I told the doctor. I told the doctor, we can get somebody to invent a walker to look like a shopping cart. You
There you
might be able
go.
to sell more.
Uh-huh.
Just shopping cart would be too hard to get in the trunk of the car. So,
Yeah. Well, my dad used to say that stubbornness is that quality which we call firmness when we see it in ourselves. When everybody else does it, they're stubborn, but when we do it, we're being firm. We're sticking to our guns. So your mom's being firm. She's not being stubborn.
I
She's
get
being
you. I
firm.
get you. Good wisdom from your dad. All right. Good job. All right, Chris, hey, if you leave us one more powerful message, we know people are here struggling today, just so you can leave with a good message, that'd be a blessing.
Yes, sir. So if I'm going to boil it down, I'm going to say open your eyes and look for what you have to be thankful for today. Open the gifts that are in front of you. Take your eyes off your troubles and put your eyes on all that you have to be thankful for. Because no matter what you're going through, it's got a positive and a negative aspect. And you get to choose which one you focus on, because the one you focus on will be the one that has power over you.
That's the old wolf story thing about being good and bad. It depends on which one you feed the most.
Exactly.
So,
Yep. Exactly.
all right, Chris, hey, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I've got some extra wisdom and, again, extra stuff to think about from you today. And I tell people selfishly, I get to enjoy this and learn from you first until the other people get to hear it. And
Yeah.
and again, 100 years from now, they say stuff's going to be on the internet. We're going to be helping somebody then in 100 years. Somebody's going to accidentally find this and going to be glad they did find it. So,
Wow. I
all
love
right.
that.
All right. Thank you. And everybody else, I'm Dr. James Purdue, the professor of perseverance. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week. It's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.